Good morning. It's Jean, and this is Stitch Talk with Captain Stitches. If it's about stitching, let's talk. And my camera view is all fuzzy. Please let me know if I am coming across fuzzy to you because it does not look. Yeah, it's all blurry on my end too. I don't understand that. Don't understand it at all. It has never done that. So I do not understand what's going on. Very, very, very strange. If anybody has a suggestion for that, let me know. But I have no idea at all why it is blurry. That makes sense. I don't think it's going to. Oh, there we go. It's coming in better. Never know what's going to happen on a live. All the technical issues all the time. But it does appear that it's better than it was when I first came on. So anyway, before the chat gets away from me, which it already is, let me go up and welcome each and every one of you that is here with me so far this morning. Good morning, Danielle. It is always great to see you. And Beverly, thank you for joining me this morning and being here. Lori is at an appointment. No need to say sorry, Lori. That is just fine. I was actually at an appointment early this morning myself. And Kathy is here. Good morning, Kathy. Great to see you. June Hansen is here. She's saying good morning to everyone. Christine Wolf is with us this morning. Good morning. It's been a while since we've seen you. Brenda is here. She says she can't stay, just came to pay rent. Well, thank you. My rent's very cheap, Brenda. Weird. It's like it has gotten chilled or steamed on the. Yeah, I don't understand. It is never ever had that issue. So good morning, Denise. Welcome. And Kathy with Kathy's Quilts and Crafts is here this morning. Good morning to you. Oh, and when I touch the thing, it all of a sudden jumps there. And Carol is here this morning with us. Welcome. And thank you for dropping the links, Beverly. I appreciate it very much. But yeah, it's really, really weird. I do not understand the issue that I'm having with that at all. But okay, we will go on. As long as you can see me more clearly than when I first came on, we will just roll with it. But anyway, this morning, if you saw the upcoming notification, it said that we are going to talk about meditative therapy, stitching, quilting, which is not what was on my schedule for this morning. But have you ever gotten up and you have one of those days that your mind is just scattered? It's like somebody flipped a switch and it went and everything that was organized and ready just went phew, all over the place. And it's like you pull all the pieces back together quick enough. Well, that's the kind of morning that I am having. So I decided that I was going to go with more of stitch talk than showing you something this morning. So that is what I have in store for you. And on that end, I have pulled very quickly just several things that to me means a meditative type, a therapeutic type, a stress release, a restful form of quilting, stitching, crocheting, whatever it may be, whatever type of stitching you may do. So do you have those days? Any of you in here also that just have, when you kind of need a little stress relief, but you still want to do something with your fabric or stitching? And if you do, let us know and feel to share what you do on days like that. As long as we got to hang out with you, Jean, we're happy. We're easy to please. Okay, thank you very much. But yeah, so the first thing, and just to show you, and I know some of you, a lot of these will not consider it relaxing, therapeutic, meditative, because we all have different ways that we find things that help that stress release for us. What may be relaxing to me may be stressful to some of you, but that is why we are just going to, share in the chat and everything and have a little stitch talk on things that can be meditative, can be therapeutic, can be stress relieving. And just to share with you, one of the things that I do is I do a lot of sketching, a lot of doodling, and a lot of designing on quilting designs, also forms of slow stitching, and also crocheting. I do design patterns. And there are a lot of programs out there for all of us creators to use to help us in designing. However, I am a traditional person. I'm old school. I'm old, let's face it. And technology is not always my friend. I do use EQ8 software at times, but I usually start out with good old graph paper and just graphing it out and coming up with, the true math and figuring everything out when I am working on getting patterns drawn up that I have in my mind or I'm using for one reason or another. So I was actually working on these probably around 11 o'clock or so last night during the Super Bowl, watching the Super Bowl and designing. So good morning. Let me see who I have missed. Nancy with our treasured home. Welcome, welcome. One of my first members to my channel. And Yo Patty G is here in the house. Welcome, welcome. Great to see you all. If there's anybody I missed, I'm truly sorry, not intentional. But if you type something more in the chat and I see that I missed you, I will welcome you in. So that is, to me, it is a form of therapy, of stress release. I just like to design, and I like to do it the old way. Good old pencil and graph paper. And I do have to share with you when I was doing this last night, though, and especially on this pattern, right? I was shading in all those half square triangles. I looked down and this whole entire area of my hand had the pencil all over it. And it was like, oh my. So I had to go clean that off. And so just to give you an idea of little tips and things would come up along the way, I grabbed a tissue and I put over the top of what I've already done and just moved it along as I was going. So it kept all that lead from the pencil off my hand for the rest of it. But that was rather funny when I saw that. Good morning, Jean. It is you, my other Jean. Great to see you this morning, Jean. So that is one form of creating that I do that is a stress reliever, therapeutic for me, and also creating something at the same time. So let me see what else. But I mean, when I think of meditative or therapeutic stitching, I think of things that are mindless. You don't have to concentrate. You don't have to think on it as much as some of our, if you're going and you're working on a complicated, many pieces, small pieces, whatever, something you haven't done before, quilting on your machine, that to me is not mindless or therapeutic. It is fun. I enjoy it. We all do that, but that's not what I consider mindless or therapeutic or stress relieving. And I'm looking at some of the examples that I did pull in front of me. And one of those, when we are talking about quilting, would be because for some, and I'm talking hand quilting in this instance, which I know a lot of you, hand quilting is not, you know, not, it, it stresses you out rather than relaxes you, which if you have ever though thought about and wanted to try hand quilting in some form, what I suggest and what I do, and this is, I know it looks like it's nothing, but it is going to be the cover for a sewing tote. And I'm going to try and bring that up, but I want to show you that this is what is called big stitch quilting. And I'm letting it, whoops, there we go, that direction. Focus in on the size of the stitches on that. And it's just straight line quilting. You can see where I've got a lot of it marked. But just picking up a piece like that and being able to stitch. Oh, over here on this other side, we've got more stitching down in there. That shows up a little bit better. But just being able to pick something like that up and not have to think about it, just start stitching on it and go along can be great therapy and mindless stitching. Yes, June, how are you doing? Patty G is asking. Hope you are doing better than you were and are getting strength and everything back. Had to pull out the big cup this morning. Excuse me. But, and also then when it comes to quilting and not stitching, the quilt that is hanging here on the long arm behind me is an easy pattern. The name of that pattern is Sassafras. That's all I remember. I can't tell you who the designer or anything is right now. I know that it's done in 30s reproduction prints. And then it has this great big applique on it. Now, I know many of you would machine quilt that applique. And for me, that is not relaxing. I do not like machine applique. I like hand applique. So that is actually, the applique on that is all blanket stitched by hand. And to me, that is a mindless, just sit there with it in your lap, do the blanket stitch all the way around the applique, and that is a form of mindless therapeutic stitching, handwork. Doing good, and hope you are as well. Yes, I am doing good. Thank you, June. She has a doctor appointment this AM to check me out, which I've already been at the VA this morning. I had an appointment at 8:30 this morning. So had my appointment, driven back home, and was here in time to still be able to do my live this morning. So that is awesome. Yes, pray everything goes well, June. Okay, so that is the applique on that alone, by doing it by hand with the blanket stitch, is a type of stress relief, therapeutic, relaxing stitching. And that quilt, which I showed you on the other one, is also going to be hand stitched with big stitch quilting. And I will be using the crochet cotton is what I use when I do big stitch quilting. It is the size 10, which is the very thin crochet cotton. And that is what I will be hand quilting that quilt with. I'm running out of space here, but so that is another form of what I call meditative therapy stitching quilting. And another thing that we can do, those of us that like embroidery, stitching type stuff, is to journal through our stitching. You can do a little cloth journal that you just, each day or each month, however you want to do it, you do a page or part of a page and just do some stitching on it. That can be very relaxing and very therapeutic. No plan, just, that day, whatever is in your mind or whatever is what you stitch in your journal. It's like a diary. Many of us have diaries or journals that we write in. Well, you can do the same thing with your embroidery and stitching. And it is a form of release, that relaxing, the stress reliefs, therapeutic, going back and being able to go through it just like you would a diary or another journal and seeing, what was I thinking that day? What was I doing that day? What was my mind on that I came up with that to do as my embroidery work? So that is another form. I do not have one of those to show as an example right now, but that is another way of doing it. And which, yes, I believe I have so many hand stitching projects, and some of these you're going to recognize that I haven't completed, haven't finished, but this one that I was doing with the drawing of my hand and just coming up with ideas to put on the hand and stitch is a form of meditative therapeutic stitching, and another hand to come up with other things, which I spoke to my son this weekend, and I had talked to my grandson earlier, and I had asked him to have his mom and his dad, my son and daughter-in-law, and his sister, my granddaughter, and himself all take and trace their hand on a piece of paper and send it to me, because I decided I am going to do a family cloth journal. And I thought, what a great idea to do something that, the word just left me, but through their hands makes me think of each one of them as an individual and stitch on that and have that as part of that journal. So that is another form of meditative therapeutic stitching, and what a great way to have a memory later on of, boy, the light and everything just keeps changing on this camera this morning, doesn't it? Something is going on with it. Strange. And I apologize, but see, it just got lighter there and goes darker. I don't understand what's going on with it, but I can't change it. So that is what we will deal with. Another way that you can, a very, very easy way. Charlotte is asking, how do I like my short hair by now? I love it. Which, for those of you that don't know, if you looked way back at one of my very first video before I was actually a content creator, but I did a video way back on how I fold and store my fabric. I had short hair in it, which I have always had short hair like this, and the long is not my normal. So I'm very used to the short hair, and I love short hair. And so thank you for asking though, Charlotte. And Debbie is here with us this morning. Good morning, Debbie. Welcome. But one other method that you can use for therapy, meditative, and just playing around, and also helping you when it comes to choosing fabrics and colors, is just to go, an easy way to do it is go, if you have fat quarters stored someplace, just go and grab a fat quarter bundle and just kind of go through that are in there and see how the colors are put together and what they have done with them. And then pull one of them out, like, this one right on top would be a good one, that has a lot of colors in it. And then go through your stash and just pull some fabrics that you think, oh, well, that would go really good with that, and have a good time just playing around with it. No idea of any quilt or anything in mind, but just to get some therapy in on choosing fabrics and colors that would go well together. Which, that's another one that is in there, and this beautiful, love the color in that. But yeah, that is a great way to release and have some fun just playing around with some of the fabrics that you have. Put that back there. Oh, and the one thing that I forgot to mention when I was showing, the doodling and the designing on the graph paper, which especially with move that one off. On this one, that is the pinwheels. You can always go in and have fun with color pencils and playing with the color on those too, seeing what jumps out, what works, what doesn't. Just play around with it. It's on paper, nothing is stitched. So when you are making up on a graph paper or whatever, leave some of them blank, make some copies, and just go ahead and play with the colors and everything on it. Yeah, those are pretty fabrics. It is an old, one of my favorite lines from, I know, quite a few years back. Yes, it's Chocolat by Moda. And it's a Three Sisters is the designer on that. So yeah, I have had, which I've got yardage in this also, but I have had these, I hate to think how many years. And it's funny because now that you mentioned that, June, many of the bundles like this, it's just that I love them and I don't use them because they're just, some of my favorites. And for some reason, I don't want to cut into them. Strange, but yeah, I think a lot of us have that problem on some of our fabrics. It's just like, ooh, too pretty to cut. I might do the wrong thing with it and then I won't like it. But thank you, Jean. She says, this is great advice. There are many stressors in life. Yes, there are. And one of the other mindless ones, which I know you have seen me do many, many times, but this is one of the best, I would say, one of my top 5 in things to pull when you just want to keep your hand. If you're like me, you cannot sit without some form of stitching. No matter what I am doing, if I am in the house with my husband, watching TV or whatever, tending to things in there, if I am sitting, I have to be stitching. That almost rhymed, but so one of the awesome things to do is just have fabrics cut and ready and do yo-yos, because, and especially if you use the yo-yo makers like I have showed you, that totally mindless stitching, stress-free, and soon you have a bunch of yo-yos to be able to be creative and do many, many different things with the yo-yos. Good morning, Debbie from In Quilt Fact. It is great to see you this morning. Really enjoyed watching you learn that FPP yesterday. You did an awesome job. And Danielle, you did an awesome job in teaching as well. Thank you, Beverly. She says, don't forget to give that thumbs up. Yes, yes, yes. So, what is the next thing that I have for you? Oh, one of the other things that you can do that would be a great stress relief and just out of your stash and your scraps is to make just a tiny little block a day, block a week. I think it would be really neat to make a small block a day and then collect all those and have it scrappy and just put them all together, into a quilt at the end of the year when you are done. Just think of how cute and how great it would be to look back and look at all those blocks and the different styles that you made, making up just one a day, one small one, pull it out of your scraps, tiny little scraps, whatever, even make up some blocks on your own. But that is a great meditative therapy, stress relieving way to do things. One of the others is, if you look behind me, and my hand never goes the right direction, but all those quilting pattern books that you see, that's only a portion of them. But sit down in a comfortable place, pull one of those books out at random and just go through it, which this is one I have had for years. And I don't even remember, that it's there. And I was just, really quick flipping through the pages on it before starting this morning. And there are some really cute ideas in here, which I have to get to if I can find the one again that I came across, because I didn't realize in here, and of course I'm not going to find it now. Oh, where did it go? Where did it go? Where did it go? Danielle says, Still working on that migraine. Oh, Danielle, do you have a migraine? I'm sorry. Unfortunately, right now, cleaning my sewing room and going to work on the the pineapple quilt. We're not supposed to say that word. Don't mention the pineapple quilt. Soon you'll be done with it, Danielle, and you won't have to think about it anymore. Okay, where is it? That's not the one. I will find it. But yeah, there's just so many cute little things in here, and that is a way to just, there, this is it. Which, let's pull that over so we're not showing directions on it. And I know that my camera is not working for some reason this morning, but check that out. It's got applique, it's got a crochet edging, and it has patchwork, all in one little project. I mean, that to me is awesome. And it also has, back over here, that is done with freeform thread painting on your machine. So look at all the different styles of stitching just in that one little pattern, and doesn't take much fabric or anything, not much thinking. Just, you know, you could pull that out of your scraps and just sit there and have a really good time. But the object of it was not to find something to make, but just to have fun flipping through, getting ideas, not having to you know, think about stitching while you're doing it. But yeah, a way of resting your mind from stitching, but still getting to enjoy quilting, stitching, and that, in looking through all the collection of pattern books that you have and have forgotten about. And Danielle says, thank you, everyone, for such huge compliments of doing good at teaching. Deb is an amazing student to work with. Yes, yes, it was quite a great time watching both of you on that. And then what do I have next? Danielle says she tried laying down this morning, but her brain would not shut down. So figured if I get stuff done, then maybe I can relax. At least in my sewing room, make me happy. Yes, today the borders will be done. Okay, awesome. And that's another thing. Which, thank you for bringing that up, Danielle. Another way of relaxing is to just take one little area that your eye has caught in your sewing room, your craft room, whatever it may be, the stitching cottage, and spending just, you know, 10, 15 minutes organizing that area, because you will be amazed at how therapeutic it is to have things organized and in place in your stitching area. It just makes it so much more relaxing to be able to sit down and not have chaos surrounding you. Which, speaking of that big drawer that is down there, is where I keep all my pieces that I use for applique. I just put them in there, and they are supposed to be organized. I have little bins that each color is separated in and stuff. But of course, I just pull the drawer open when I'm looking for something. I root through it, you know, as you do, and we'll pull something out. And then sometimes as I'm cutting other projects, I, you know, have a little leftover piece and I go, oh, that'll be good for applique. So it gets put on top and not put where it belongs right away in its proper, you know, for what colorway or whatever it is. So that is one that I am continually finding that I have to take the stuff out and I have to, you know, organize it again, because I just can't work in mix match all over chaos, things laying all over around me, not organized. It is the OCD and the type A in me. So has to be organized, and that relaxes me to be able to sit down and then work on what I am wanting to work on for the day. Okay, and we went over the quilt block a day and everything. I have a little list here of things that I was thinking of real quickly this morning right before going on live that I was considering for what is meditative therapeutic. And I need a drink of my, talk about therapeutic, need a drink of my coffee again. Ugh, my mouth is getting dry. But one of the other things would be going to a quilt show, a local quilt show in your area. Great to just walk around and get the inspiration from seeing what others have done, the new things that are on the market and that type of thing. You don't have to go to a quilt show, a local one. You don't want to be going to one far away and not, but this is test yourself. Go without a credit card or any money and just walk around and be inspired and get ideas and relax and enjoy seeing what others have done, what others have designed, what new things there are out there in the quilt world. Because a lot of times we make spur of the moment decisions when we are at a quilt show, and we will buy just because we see it, just because it's new, just because it was sparkly and something different, or somebody was demonstrating this great new tool and we think, oh, I've got to have that. Oh, I need that, especially when we're new at quilting. All these things are exciting and new to us. And then we find out when we get home, it's like, we didn't really need that. And we have buyer's remorse. So just try once on a local one, a small quilt show, going and don't have any way of being able to purchase anything along with you, and see how you can really enjoy and relax and just take in that quilt show. Also, getting together with a small group of quilters in your area is a great way to be able to have meditated, therapeutic, relaxing time quilting and stitching. It's great to just visit and relax and have a great time stitching with others. If you don't have a small group that you can get with in your area, or you don't have a quilt guild, that type of thing, being able to be in groups that offer, like I do, the pop-up Zoom stitch dates, being able to go on Zoom and just sit there and work on whatever you are working on and chat with a bunch of other like-minded people, see what they are working on, can be very relaxing and very therapeutic, especially if you are someone like me who does not get to leave your home and are homebound for certain reasons. And that it's a great way to be able to get together and have an enjoyable time stitching with others. And you all know me, I'm not just a quilter. I do all forms of stitching, and I welcome all of you in all of the ways that you do stitching and try to offer something for all forms of stitching. So our next one that I am going to talk about, and is also on my top 5 of the most therapeutic ways of stitching. And I have to admit, I love any form of hand stitching. I also love machine quilting, machine stitching. I have done, thread painting and collages and all that on machine. But when it comes to what I really love and what relaxes me, it is always going to be hand stitching. So the next thing we're going to talk about is, well, what do we do with this old spool, do you think, that I have? Well, there is a thing in a type of stitching in slow stitching that is called a snippet roll or a stitch bobbin. And what that is if you can see down this side, and I'll get it closer, that is a stitch bobbin or a snippet roll, and it is all stitching that has been done, and then it gets rolled around the bobbin, and you can display it and look at it that way. Well, there is a project, a picture that I shared in my Facebook group, and there was a request to do that as a stitch along. So, and this is just a black and white of what the picture was, and it was just for inspiration. So I will be doing a full video demonstration on this, but this is just to give you an idea of how relaxing and therapeutic that can be, because inside, my husband calls it a lunch box, but it's a stitch box is what I call it. But I have pulled items that I believe will be things that I will use on that. And because I don't want it to be just one thing, and I have been wanting to do a snippet roll, I will be doing it in that form. Others can do it however they want, using some of the suggestions and everything that I do. But here I have, this is on an old, and I don't think what I have, if we hold it, it says follow your heart. It's the, the pencil for being able to do the stitching on that. But that is actually on an old worn out handkerchief is what the fabric is for that. And then I love this fabric, and I purposely cut it, leaving the selvage on there because I love words to be included in my slow stitching projects, which it is More Little Memories by Little Quilts for Henry Glass and Company is what that fabric line is from. But that is going to be the main background fabric for that. And just to give you an idea also, then this is the backing fabric for my snippet roll, and I have the batting. You see, it is long. It is the full width of the fabric that I have cut, and according to whatever you're going to have it on is what determines your width. But that is prepared and ready then, which these will not be connected until they are done. It's just you will be working with your fabric on the batting, not on the backing, because you don't want your stitches and everything to go through that. That will be attached after your whole roll is done. But that was an old fabric that I had that I thought was nifty. So that is the preparation for it. And you just add sections as you go onto that. If you don't want to do a whole roll, this is batting that is left over, that is stitched together, that is a size that could be used for this project to do it individually. That is another way of doing it. And as I said, this will all be in a full demonstration video, but just to, and that's more of that fabric left over there. But I have pulled laces and trims in here. I have pulled threads that I think will go along with some of the fabrics that are, yeah, we've got a bunch, which I will be doing, yo-yos at some time. This is heart templates that are pulled and in there. More thread. We have lace trim to be able to use. Getting the threads out of there. We have these are all lace trims, newer ones, but they can be distressed to look old. And then I have all these fabrics that I have pulled based on this fabric is what I used for my inspiration, and pulled other fabrics to go along with that one that I think may work. And that is just for that one slow stitch one, the follow your heart. And then what's left over, some pieces may stay in here, but then I will start with whatever is the next one that I decide to do, and you can add on to it as you go. So that is a snippet roll. And another great way, make sure we get everything back in there. It's amazing what one of these can hold. But that is a great meditative, therapeutic way of stitching also, because there is no pattern. That is all, I mean, you can get inspiration from Pinterest, like that picture was taken off Pinterest, but there is no pattern. You just decide what you're going to do as you're doing it. The embroidery, the stitching on it is, okay, what at that time you think, oh, this will look good here, or I'll do that there. It doesn't all have to be done at once. You work on it, a little bit each day. And I think someone else has popped in here. Melody is here. Good morning, Melody. Welcome, welcome. Thanks for joining us. We are talking about meditative, therapeutic, relaxing forms of stitching today, or quilting or crocheting, whatever it may be. For those days, like I said this morning, it was just one of those days that my brain is just scattered all over, and it's not going to be a morning, at least, that I can concentrate on anything. So talking about ways of using our stitching and our quilting as ways of being meditative and therapeutic and a stress relief, relaxing. And like I said, everybody's form of that is not going to be the same, because what may be relaxing to me may be stressful to you. So find what it is that makes you relaxed in your stitching. And I have given several ideas and forms of what that may look like and what it could be. One of the things I did not mention was your long arm and your domestic machine. When we talk about, okay, we all have those quilts that we make, and they do need to be quilted and finished at some time. And the actual quilting of it can be one of the most stressful things for a lot of us. But there is a way to also make that meditative, therapeutic, and a stress relief. And that is just make up for your long arm. If you have a long arm, make up a little larger, practice piece. For your domestic machine, make up a practice piece. And just, doodle. Just have fun. Just play with it. Just as I call it, dance with your machine. Just take time with that little practice sheet. Don't have anything in mind. Just doodle around with it. Move, try some things out that you may have thought about trying. And don't worry about it, because it's a practice sheet. You're not working on anything, so you don't have to stress about it. That's the time to, okay, you may find out while you're doing that, oh, this works a lot easier for me. I never ever thought of doing that, just by playing with it. On your long arm, being able to just get that motion, playing with the tension on it by having a practice piece is a great way to be a stress reliever and not have to think about it. Just play with it, and you'll be surprised at how it will improve your stitching over time. Same thing with hand stitching. I always say, have a practice piece. Practice your stitching on that before you stitch on your project for the day, because your first stitches of the day, if you are a domestic machine quilter, free motion quilting, or long arm, that those first stitches of your day are not your best stitches. So if you can have a practice piece to work on first, that is a great way to work on that. And of course, one of the other things that can be an awesome meditative, stress relieving, and just a feel good way of stitching and quilting is to quilt for charity. And there are so many forms and so many ways that you can do that. Or also, another thing is make a little memory bear. I mean, it doesn't have to be a quilt, any form of stitching, but, memory bears that you can make out of people that have had something happen in their life, have lost a loved one or anything, or something like that, being able to offer to them to take, if they would like some of the clothing or something that means something to them of that person, and making up a memory bear or a little memory quilt or something like that and giving it to them. That is great therapy, and giving somebody else therapy themselves by having that then as a memory of their loved one. But I'm knocking things over as I'm trying to find places to set all this stuff that I have done. But thank you for the thumbs up again, everybody. And all the other forms of quilting for charity. When I was at my appointment at the VA this morning, I was at the women's clinic, which my VA has a wing that is the clinic just for women. And I have noticed before, because you don't really think about it when you're, my age and a veteran and no longer in the military, that when you're parking and you see that line, the little one that says for expecting mothers only, and it got me thinking, and I thought, I do quilts for veterans. Wouldn't it be awesome to make up baby quilts for expectant veteran mothers, and be able to have those there for them to hand out when it is very close to the due date, or the mother has, come in with her new infant. So I did ask about that while I was there this morning, and they were overjoyed and thought it was a wonderful idea. So I will be adding that to one of my destinations, that I will be doing the quilting for charity. Not only will it be quilts for veterans now, but it'll be quilt for veteran babies, expectant mothers. So that is another resource. And just being able to do quilting for charity is an awesome feeling, to be able to give to others as creators, being able to share with you our joy of quilting, our joy of stitching. That is a great release, a great therapy for us, because it is something that we love. It is something that we want others to find joy in, comfort in. So that is a very, very awesome way of being able to do meditative therapy, stress release, and knowing at the same time you are helping someone else by doing quilting for charity. And Jean says, oh my lands, what a fun idea. Isn't it? Isn't it though? Yes. Awesome. Awesome ideas. There are so many ways out there to quilt and give to charity. And I know we have so many ideas, so many things that we would like to make, and we can't use them all ourselves. And if you're like me, you love to quilt just for the joy of quilting. You love to stitch just for the joy of stitching. You love to crochet just because you love to crochet. So by still being able to enjoy doing the stitching and the making and the creating of the things is something that we need to do. And then, because we have so much, being able to give it to someone else. It's just, I just don't have the words for how it makes you feel inside. And we don't do it for any recognition or anything like that. It's just because we want to share something that can bring somebody else comfort and joy and strength through a traumatic or a hard situation that they have gone through. So that, I believe, I have covered everything that I had in mind and laying around me. That is stuff all over. With sharing with you this morning, well, I had my mind explosion of being scattered every way, of forms of quilting and stitching that we can use in a meditative therapy, stress relief way. And I hope that has given you some ideas also, and that you will share with others. And those of you that are in my Facebook group, if you come up with an idea, please feel free to share that with us, because we can all get enjoyment out of many ways of being able to stitch or quilt for stress relief and therapy, and just for the health of it. I am a breast cancer survivor, and one group that really needs knitters is Knitted Knockers. Yes, and there is also a crochet group for crocheted breast forms that I used to do a lot. But yes, there is always a need for that. Which, speaking of that, my doctor at the VA was suddenly gone for a period of time, and she shared this morning that the reason that she was gone, and she wasn't planning on coming back, was because she had breast cancer. So yes, I'm planning also a way of being able to do charity quilts and things for veterans at my VA that are going through breast cancer or other forms of cancer in the women's clinic. Since I am a woman, I like to include them in it, because sometimes they are not as remembered as the male military veterans. So being a female veteran, I understand that. So, okay. So, thank you everyone for indulging me in being able to go over several ideas and methods that I have that are meditative, therapeutic ways of quilting and stitching. And again, hope that it has brought you some inspiration and some ideas. And I also hope, I'm not going to go into all of it again because it was in my week in review, but just to remind you that I do have the first annual Quilt for Therapy Marathon coming up. That will be February 25th. It is a Sunday from 1 p.m. to 7 p.m. And you can find out the information on that in either one of my Facebook groups, Friends of Quilting Stitches, and my charity group, that is Threads of Quilting Stitches, Heartfully Given. So check on that. And Jean says, hilarious name for a very serious need. Knitted knockers. Yes, I cannot. It was something breast forms in the crochet one, but I did many of those. But yes, always a need for that in any type. One of the other things that I didn't mention that is great for those that are in nursing homes or assisted living is called a fidget quilt. And I do have one that I have made up, and I will talk about that at a later date. But that was something that I just remembered too, because those are great to make for those that are going through maybe some dementia or memory loss that are in nursing homes. You make a fidget quilt out of some items that may be, have meaning and memories of the family that can spark, just a little bit of recollecting their memories of them. And it's things because they need something to fiddle with, and that's why fidget with. That's why it's called a fidget quilt. But those are also great items to make and can be mindless and stuff. So, and June says, thanks for sharing with us. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you, June. And again, prayers for your appointment this morning, and that you have great news to share with us later on. So it is, and it looked like my clock wasn't moving again, but it's just because it's one hand's on the 11 and one hand's on the 12. But thank you, Debbie. So thank you everyone again for joining me. I hope that you have a great week. It is Monday, the beginning of the week. So start it off with some awesome stitching, quilting, and share with us in the Facebook group what you are working on. Love to see what everybody is doing and sharing along. And I will be having some full-length demonstrations coming up on recorded videos. So look for those. And everyone, I will give you a little bit to say goodbye. Evelyn's on the beach. Hello and bye, everyone. You'll have to catch the replay, Evelyn, but thank you for popping on and letting us know that you are here. That is awesome. And I apologize for whatever is wrong with my camera this morning. We will see if I can get that issue fixed. I have no idea what it is. So take care. I will see you again very soon. And remember, in the meantime, I can keep you in stitches. Bye-bye, everyone.